Hello, everybody. Hello, friends, To Write Love family. We are live. We are going to be welcoming in just a few minutes our friend Carlos Whittaker. If you are here, Carlos, give me a wave. Let me know. We have only a few more hours before World Suicide Prevention Day. Tell me where you are coming from. I may be turning off comments here in just a second. So say hello now. And if you end up having questions while Carlos just joined us, I'm going to turn these comments off real fast. But if you have any questions for Carlos or myself, To Write Love, what we're up to, feel free to put those in the question box. We are just a day away from the World Suicide Prevention Day. That is Friday, September 10th. Some of our friends across the pond and in Australia, they are already welcoming the day where we get to be loud with our hope, loud with our voices and our stories to say that you are not alone. And so I'm going to go ahead and add Carlos in and we're going to dive in. If you don't know Carlos, he is an author, a speaker, a podcast a hope dealer, and that is why we love Carlos so much. So I'm excited to actually officially meet Carlos. So I'm going to see if internet, do your thing. I'm hoping that you will be able to. There you are. Hello.
Hey, Lindsay, how are you?
I'm good. It is so nice to meet you. I was like, we're gonna get to chat.
I know. For the first time, the first time chatting face to face.
Yeah, but you are not a stranger to Write Love on Our Arms. You have been. Well, we're fans of you, and if you see, I feel like I think I mentioned this to you, like. I feel like I see you in To Write Love gear maybe more than anybody else on the planet, possibly on the planet, and we love that. Like,
I always tell people that To Write Love in Our Arms gear. Like, I don't know what T-shirts or what cut or whatever it is you use, but it fits my body perfectly. I can't find another T-shirt anywhere on the planet that fits me as good as what you guys do. So, like, I'm just forever indebted for my whole wardrobe being you guys.
Well, we are happy because I kind of introduced you before you came on, and if you're part of the Insta Familia, you know you're a hope dealer. I want to hear a little bit about like how you define that, and then we have some questions and some things. We have like big things to talk about. Human things to talk about, right? Like we're talking about World Suicide Prevention Day is tomorrow. It is National Suicide Prevention Week right now, but I just want to connect with you. I just want to kind of hear like how you arrived at this place where like hope felt so like fundamental to who you are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I think, first of all, for anyone that's hopped in here that follows me, just know that for the longest time, what you guys do and your organization does and how you help people battle through seasons, whatever seasons there, somebody's having a rough season is, I'm forever a fan and forever going to be cheering you guys on. But I think for me, the whole hope thing, and it really started with my own mental health challenges. Like it started, I was working at a church full time. This was 2003. So this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I had my very first panic attack on stage while I'm looking at everybody that was out there, right? I'm playing my guitar, I'm singing. And I felt like I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And I will let you know that here I was in this big church, in this big whatever religion, and I'd never felt so alone. Because everyone was just telling me to pray harder. Everybody was just telling me like to read this certain thing. And I was doing those things and I was kind of like, whatever, like it made me feel a little bit better, but I was like, gosh, like, I'm not finding hope in necessarily the humanity around the structure that I'm inside of. And so I just started, I started really diving in. I said, you know what, if nobody else is going to be hope to people like me, there must be one person out there that feels like I do. And there must be one person out there that needs to know that I'm with them and I feel what they're feeling. So I'll never forget. It was like, I'm still in the middle. I couldn't do my job for about 4 months. Every time I'd back down the driveway, I'd have a massive panic attack. I'd have to go back up. So I started a blog. People that are like under 30 may not know what a blog is. But I started this online blog, and my very first post, it was a video post. Back in the day, we had to use this thing called Real Player. And I embedded the post, but it was me taking my very first 10 milligrams of Paxil. And I just said, hey, listen, I work at a big church, and I don't know one other person that works at a church that takes medicine. But guess what? I'm going to, because I need to right now. I don't know what else to do. And oh my gosh, the response I got to that, and there weren't public responses. They were all emails. Nobody wanted anyone else to know.
Yeah.
That's when I saw, oh my, there's so many people out here that are desperate for just to know that somebody else feels like they do. And when you know somebody else is with you, that gives you hope, right? Like when you know that somebody else may feel like, that's why like all these recovery programs, all these things are incredible, because you know there's somebody else going through what you're going through. And so that's when I decided I'm gonna share this thing. That was 2003. I've been sharing my journey through whatever it may be, seasons. You know, we're in World Suicide Prevention Week right now, and then day tomorrow. You know, I'm specifically going to talk about those thoughts that have entered my mind tomorrow, and you know, just again letting people know that that we need them here, and that they have they have worth, they have value, and there is hope. I promise there's hope.
Man, I love that. And you know, I think as I was starting, I came onto staff in 2009 with TWLOHA, and you know, so a little bit after your experience, but where we're at today, you know, I kind of describe the pandemic in this tragic optimism, right? Where like for the first time, it feels like everyone understands like mental health, like the term, the experience, the like the trauma of kind of being alive at this moment is like, it's like freeing in a way. I mean, it's a lot, right? It's heavy and it's hard, and people more than ever are considering, are having thoughts of suicide. They're considering, what does my life mean, or they're dealing with depression, anxiety at like all-time rates, right? So like, I'm not minimizing that, but what is hopeful, what I have hope in is this freedom to say it, and to say, that's me. Like, I'm on a Zoom call, and you know what? Unfortunately, today sucks. Like, today's been a lot. Like, this is hard. Like, this just is straight hard. This is like been a hellish year. Like, just to be honest, right? And I think that's such a gift in a way. But I feel like people like yourself, you have been so authentic with the Instafamilia, with everybody that you come in contact. Like, you're just giving that gift like over and over again. Like, and that's what's really wonderful, I think, about following you. And so when I hear you say hope dealer, that's what I picture, right? It's like,
well, there it is.
Permission to exist, right?
Yeah, it's permission to exist, and it's the permission to, gosh, not only exist, but to thrive, you know, and gosh, so many times I think the word like thrive gets really skewed into like, you think thriving and you think like some like self-help guru that is like trying to get you to live your best life. And listen, I'm here to I'm here to tell you that like, that even this may sound weird, but trust me, go with me for a second. Even in the midst of like, if you were in the darkest season you've ever felt yourself in, I believe that thriving in that season doesn't mean that you're looking to live your best life now. Like, thriving is just that one like tiny sprout, right? Like, my wife's a gardener, and she, you know, I go out in the garden, and I'll never forget, it was the first year she'd really like focused on gardening these things. She planted these seeds, and she was screaming, and I was like, oh my gosh, something must have gotten into her. She's in the garden, something must have gotten and ripped up, and she's so excited. I was like, why are you excited? She goes, look. And I looked down, and all I saw was dirt. I go, what are you talking about? She's like, no, look. And she's so excited. She's like, they're starting to sprout. And it took me getting all the way down, and there was like this much growth. I mean, it was just this tiny little thing. And she was jumping up and down. She was so excited. And I think to myself, I remember that, and I think to myself, that's thriving. Like, I'm telling you, if it's just that much growth, celebrate that. Say, oh my gosh, that's more than it was yesterday. I know I'm not an oak tree yet. I'm a tiny little millimeter tall sprout, but celebrate that. You can thrive even in the darkness.
Yeah, I love that. And that reminds me, sort of, it kind of brings me back to the campaign that we're in. So if you're joining and you're not familiar with To Write Love on Her Arms, we, some of this conversation is part of our Another Day with You campaign. And really, that's the goal, right? What we're talking about is giving the chance for just one more day, to say one more day. We had this mom who shared part of her story, and she lost her son to suicide. And it was super powerful how she shared it. She said, you know, he lived 40 million minutes, and And if this is you, if you're struggling, like, I want you to stay one more second. I want you to stay one more minute. I want you to stay now 60 more, you know, like it can add on. And so I think the idea is to not to say that, you know, we know what's going to look like in the next, you know, month, year, whatever. But if you can stay tonight, if you can stay today, like, there are people that care. There are people that want to help. Actually, I wanted to mention, because I see people donating, those funds are actually going to treatment and recovery scholarships. So that is hope right there. Like, that's the ability for us to say to people who come to Write Love, who say, I need help, I can't afford it. We get to say, yes, we can help you. We want to help you. And the people donating right now, you're making it possible. In fact, we just helped somebody sit with a counselor for the first time in the short amount of time we've been talking. So that's awesome.
So tell me this real quick, real quick, Lindsay. So I mean, I'd love for anyone that's watching this that follows me, not on your account, to know, like, so what when you're raising money, like what does it cost for somebody to sit in counseling, and you guys pay for that, you know, if somebody needs that?
Yeah. So we try to work with people in different regions. It can cost different. You know, if you're someone who's looked for help before, you may have seen everywhere from, you know, $50 to $150. So what we do is we are able to provide a range, and it's usually on average, the average award is about $55. So in between 65 to 100 is kind of where we scholarship people, and we'll walk with people for 3 to 6 months, sometimes even up to a year, depending on what people need. So these funds, they help people get into care, and then they help them stay there, right? It's not about, we love to think that maybe just a month with a counselor would be all that we need, but we all know, like, life has seasons, and working with someone you trust and developing that care is kind of important to have more time. So that's a gift that we are super grateful to be able to offer. We are also able now to do things like where people need additional levels of care. So they call it intensive outpatient, or they need to go a couple times a week. We can provide like a scholarship towards that and help somebody sit and kind of do more intensive care. So
I love that you guys are removing that wall in between somebody being able to afford to go talk to somebody. It's mind blowing. So cool.
Yeah, it's kind of been from day one, right? Like when Jamie was when this whole thing started, it started with one person who needed help and literally just could not afford it. And so that's the origin, and we haven't really strayed from that. Like that has remained what we are trying to accomplish, to have conversations, which we're going to get to around these issues, but then also to say, if this moves you, if this sounds like you, and you raise your hand, you message us, you connect with us, we want to be able to say yes. We want to be able to say, here are your options, and we'll walk with you through that. We'll help you find a counselor. We'll help you remove the barrier of finances, which frankly is like the number one thing we hear, you know, like we hear it at colleges and in churches across the country and internationally. Like it's expensive, right? It's not something that our country frankly has decided is a part of the whole body yet, and deserves healthcare coverage or has accessibility for coverage. So until that happens, we're going to continue to stand in that gap. So thank you to the people donating. We love that. If you have questions for Carlos or myself, we're going to do a couple of what we're calling conversation cards, and it's a part of our Another Day with You campaign. I'm going to just hold that up because I don't think you can see my shirt. It's always awkward to like.
I know.
Like, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, so we have these really cool cards this year, and part of the Another Day with You campaign is giving people small action steps to enter the conversation about probably one of the things that is still the most stigmatized thing in mental health is suicide. It's the thing that people most kind of instantly, when you say it, have this kind of physical, like, oh, I don't know how to deal with that. And so, and that's okay. Like that's our culture, right? That's kind of where we're at. And what we want to do with this campaign is make it possible for people to just start conversations that would open a door. And that's really the goal, right? I think that's the goal with the permission thing, right? It's just practicing the conversation, so when the moment needs to be there, it's not so scary. It's really about connecting as a human, not trying to fix, but trying to get in the hole with that person and stay there until you can say, hey, maybe we can go get some help together, you know? So these are entry points. They're not meant to solve the very complex issue of suicide and how we get out of it, but it is something that's really cool. So this comes with our suicide prevention pack, and I've been having a couple conversations with folks, and I thought it'd be fun to do a couple questions if that's cool with you.
I love it.
All right. Okay. Are you ready?
Let's do it. Drum roll, please.
Okay. What is one thing you need to hear right now?
You're asking me this.
Yes. And what is one thing you need to say or share?
One thing I need to hear right now is that the chaos of my next 2 months will come to an end at some point.
You are traveling a lot.
I am. And I think it can get overwhelming, to be honest with you. And when I look at my calendar, it can be a little trigger of like, I feel a little like anxiety. I feel, and so like, I think something I need to hear and I need to say it out loud is like, although I'm going to enjoy the next 2 months, November is coming and rest is coming. So that's something I need to hear. Yeah.
Nice. Is that something that has been kind of on a pause? Like, is this ramping back up during like kind of?
Yeah, I think that it's kind of ramped up ish, throughout the 2021, but now it's like, I mean, people are like, let's go, and so there's a lot of things that canceled in 2020 that are all coming back right now. So it's like a lot of those contracts. And so, I mean, it is nonstop. And so I love it because I get to go spread hope. I get to go do what I love to do. But it's more travel than I've ever done in my entire life over the course of 2 months. So, So. Wow.
I know. I feel like I'm always catching your stories while you're in an airport changing somebody's life.
Totally.
So like, you must be on the go a lot.
Yeah. I love it.
That's awesome. So what would be one thing you need to say? Is that part of it? Did you cover it? You feel like?
No, I think one thing I need to say, maybe to somebody, like for myself or to somebody else.
Just like something you just need to say.
Yeah, something I need to say. I think I need to say, I think I need to tell my son that I love him. I'd like to say that. I've been home for 24 hours and we've crossed paths and he's at Chick-fil-A working right now and I'm doing this and I leave again tomorrow. And so I'm like, you know what? I need to look him in the eye and just tell him that I love him.
I like that. That's awesome. All right. So name a moment you asked for help. What did it feel like? And then what happened next?
Yeah. A moment so this is drastic, but I don't ask for help a lot, but there was a moment when my wife and I were dating and we were in Kings Canyon, California on next to a river, and her dad was walking on the side of the river and my wife decided to jump in. She like grew up in the rivers. And so she jumped in and she was just kind of swimming. So I was like, oh, I'll do it too. So I jumped in behind her and then the river started pushing me to the bank, but the bank wasn't like a normal bank that you just kind of walk up. There was actually like a rock cliff underneath it. So the water was moving under it. And so suddenly I'm hanging onto the side of the bank and my feet are going underneath the bank. And I've never seen her father scared in my entire life until this moment. And I've never seen him scared again. I was about to drown and he came sprinting down because if I would have gotten sucked down and I'm screaming help. It's the only time I've ever screamed help. And he grabs my arm. This may not be what you wanted me to answer, but it's just so and he grabs me and he pulls me up. And the relief I felt when he pulled me up, is I constantly think about that now when I ask for help for small things or for things that may not look as, intense. And sometimes I think about this with people that are contemplating suicide and people that are having suicide ideation, that they probably are feeling the same way I was feeling when I was hanging on and it was sucking me under, And so some people that I've talked to that have either survived attempts or not attempted yet had said that's how they feel. They feel like it's inevitable and to ask for help is the last resort. And so, that's one time.
I think I'm going to let you load there.
Call. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I've had terrible internet, so I was like, it's probably my internet. I'm glad it was me. Okay. Oh, do we got you back?
Yeah, I had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Sorry. Anyway,
that's okay.
That's the time I asked for help.
No, I mean, I think that's a powerful picture. I think what you're saying, it can feel like that, right? And I don't know if you've ever read this book. I read it to my son when he goes to sleep. And I'm going to mess up the title, but it's a very lovely book. It's something about a horse, a mole, and a fox, and
Yep.
a boy. I got those in the wrong order, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Possibly. Anyway,
I do. I know exactly what you're talking
it's
about.
a very lovely book, and I'm sorry I did not name the book correctly. However, one of the characters says, asking for help is not giving up. It's refusing to give up. And I love
Right.
that. And I just love that because I think it changes in my mind. Like I just had my second son, Leo. He's 7 months old.
Yeah.
And I had a pretty dark season postpartum with my first kid, who's now 7. So there's a big gap. I needed the gap. But I recall in that season not knowing how to ask for help. Like it was actually probably one of the most pronounced times where I was struggling with anxiety.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to ask for help because I thought, well, this is just what it should feel like. I should just be exhausted. I should just not be sleeping. I should just have to do everything myself. And so the asking for help was so hard emotionally and just kind of in everyday life because I felt like it was like giving up or like failing. Yep. And I think we all can feel that. Like we can all relate to that feeling, whatever the circumstances
Absolutely.
are. But I think asking for help in that moment was offered to me from like a family member that says, hey, this doesn't really seem like you're doing okay. You know, there is like help. We can support you. We can, and so they offered it to me and I was like, yeah, that's me not giving up. Actually, that's me like accepting the support that I need in this season. And so that was kind of I like to like think about that. And I now read that to my youngest son. He obviously doesn't know what I'm saying, but I still like to think it's a reminder like, hey, it's okay. Like it's an okay thing. And so that's that's my thought. Okay.
I love it.
I love it. I want to thank the people giving. I just feel like every time I look down and there are more people who are saying, I want to help support treatment and recovery scholarships. I just want to thank them because I feel like if that goes unsaid, then we failed somehow for thanking people. So thank you for those giving. If you do have questions, I'm hoping we'll have some time to ask questions. So I see a couple in there. Please ask them. I don't want to be the only one asking you questions. Okay, so we got a couple more questions here.
Yeah.
So how has suicide touched your life or the people that you love?
Yes, it's touched my life more times than I wish it has. Growing up in high school, it touched my life. One of my great close friends, Brandon Bugg, took his life the day after graduation.
Oh,
that was the first, so I was 18. That was the first time that suicide had touched my life. And then more recently, a friend of mine, maybe 4 years ago, took his life. And then it just felt like it was like 3 or 4 that same year. And these were all people in the church. These were all pastors. It just, it touched me way closer. And then over quarantine last year, some of our good friends in Atlanta. And so this probably affected me the most, although they all affected me, but their son took his life. And so now I'm looking at, my kids and teenagers and their friends, and not just my friends, it's my friends' kids. And so, Lindsay, more times than I would ever want it to touch anybody's life. And so that's why I am so passionate about it, so yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that with us. I think it's an interesting question because I think what it reveals, it just reveals that suicide, it touches a lot of people's lives. And we don't really get a chance to say it. Part of my job, and I mentioned this on another conversation, but part of my job is to connect with families when they've lost somebody and they're kind of investing in a legacy of hope and help for people as they're donating to Detroit Love. And I hate it. What I also notice often is that it's very hard sometimes for them to share that that the death happened by suicide. And so you respect that and you also mourn that, right? Like the fact that they, in that moment of grief, can't express or can't be like honest, I guess, with the people in their community. It's heartbreaking. And I think that's actually what research shows, right? It's that when we lose people, almost 135 people for each death are deeply affected by a suicide, one death.
Wow.
And the people who have lost someone to suicide, they actually, their grief process looks different, right? It actually scientifically looks different because of like this thing that's very abstract but is really real is stigma, right? So that stigma is like a double grief, if that makes sense. Like you grieve the fact that you can't grieve in the way that is real to everyone because of it. And so I don't know, that's one thing that I wish for families who have lost somebody. Well, one, I wish that we can connect with people, we can help people stay, right? That's the first and ultimate wish. The second one is just that we can start to meet those people in those moments and not cause them additional pain in such a dark and heavy season. So I appreciate you sharing that, Carlos. Okay, I'm gonna ask one last question, and I think we should get to some other questions because I can see some good ones coming in. What is one thing you wish people understood about suicide loss, or suicide ideation?
Yeah, I think the first thing that pops to my brain is that people that are thinking about this aren't these weak. They're not weaklings. This actually has nothing to do with willpower, and just like striving and rolling up your sleeves and like just work harder, like I wish people would know that this isn't a character flaw. This isn't, that these thoughts affect way more people, especially the ideation affect way more people than anybody watching this even remotely can begin to understand. And so I would love to see the weakness be pushed aside, because when it's when you're standing in the middle of a fire, right? Like no human being on planet Earth could just stand there and burn up. Like you would run, right? And so that's what a lot of these people are feeling, and that has nothing to do with weakness. It's almost an impossibility that they're standing against. And so, I wish people would know that it actually has nothing to do with like a lack of inner strength, if that makes sense.
No, that does. And we did this really cool event on Sunday to kick off National Suicide Prevention Week with Dr. Alana, and she is a trauma psychiatrist, but she taught me something new recently, which is that like in your brain, the places that register emotional pain and physical pain are actually the same place. Like it's the same. So like the emotional pain, it's in your body. It's like actual physical. It can be physically, like it'll show up, right? It'll show up. And so I think remembering that piece can hopefully just give us a moment to have like compassion, right? And to have empathy. And it's one of those things where like we will never, as like if you don't have a suicidal mind in this moment, it's very difficult to understand the suicidal mind. Right. Like the rational brain and where those people feel like they are at in that moment. But I think we have to try, right? Like, I think we have to give language. We have to tell stories. We have to tell the experience of those who thankfully have lived, who have survived. There's 25 people for every death. There's 25 people who survive. And so we can learn a lot from listening to those stories with compassion. Because I think that's where we're going to understand how to enter in and enter into conversation and enter in with help and to be present. And then and just be, like I said, I think it's just this permission for this to not carry the black label of like you can't talk about this issue. So I really appreciate you sharing with us on those questions. There's just a couple simple questions, right? That's not normally something when I first meet somebody that we just dive right in and talk. But I think it's great. Like, those might not have been the questions I would have asked you if we just met, but I think that they're important, right? And I think if you're watching and that encourages you to ask somebody any one of those questions, I think that will be hope for that person.
Absolutely. And I love that they're very simple, pointed questions. I mean, to ask a question of somebody that may be thinking this way, and to ask them, what was the first question you asked me? Just something that
So, yeah, something you need to say or something you need
yeah,
to hear. Yeah.
something you need to say, something you need to hear. I mean, that is so simple, but it's so powerful, because what does that do to anybody? Well, it allows the person that may be thinking in a suicidal way to think about the future, is what it's doing. It's directing. And so just know, like, whoever you are, don't be nervous about asking somebody that you may feel maybe struggling with this kind of stuff about these things, because it may be you may be the one that says the one thing, right? So say it.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me, I think some of our team, when, this is our 10th Suicide Prevention Day campaign.
Yep.
That feels like a very long time.
Right.
But this year, I think more than anything, we just really wanted people to have the ability to ask questions. We lack the ability, a lot of us still are lacking the ability to see each other, to figure out how to connect in authentic ways. And so, starting a conversation, the deck is really actually great. It also comes with a bunch of resources. So if you want to leave these places, we're actually encouraging people, don't litter, but like leave them places where someone might find it, because that's another thing we hear is like, he was feeling this way, or I was feeling this way, and I just didn't know I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know who to reach out to. So we love being able to point to our partners, Crisis Text Line. They're awesome. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. We've got Trans Lifeline on here, and the Trevor Project. So there's so many people who are on the other end waiting to support folks. And I just want to encourage people that, like Carlos mentioned, it is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's a refusing to give up. So I love that. So I wanted to check real quick in with some questions, if that's cool. Sure. We still got a couple more minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
All right. Let me see how this goes. All right. Let's see. Okay. What has been your favorite WSPD annual slogan that has stuck with you the most?
Oh.
So there's 10 of them. I don't know if you remember all of them, Carlos.
I don't remember all.
I
don't remember all of them, but I definitely remember Tomorrow Needs You. Like for some reason that one just stuck with me, and I say it all the time to people.
I like that. Yeah. Actually, I think Tomorrow Needs You is probably one of my favorite. I really loved the no one else can play your part.
Yes, no one else can play your part.
That was one of my favorites. And I think do you know Anis Mojgani? He's a poet that we've worked with before.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that guy. Oh,
great. I'm glad you know him.
I don't know him. I'm just a fan.
Yeah. Well, same. We have a special video dropping tomorrow with Anis. But the reason I say no one else can play your part is because I feel like that statement was inspired by him, like standing on stage, like talking about like no one else can play this part in this world. And I think it's so true, because you literally, like, there's something inherently unique, right, about each and every one of us. And so knowing that if you are not here with us, that can't be filled. There's no understudy for you. There's nobody else stepping in. You are the one that we need. We need you here. So I love that one. That was a good question. Okay, let me go back.
Great question.
Any other questions? There's a lot of comments of like just loving you. So I think that's terrific. I don't know. Awesome. Should I read those to you?
No.
No. Oh gosh. Carlos, I was kind of curious about, you talked a little bit about your role in the church and in a faith family. Have you seen that conversation change at all? Have you seen that conversation evolve?
Yeah. I actually have. Like I'm very, my church here in Nashville did an entire mental health panel last year that I was on, and it was one of the most impactful, services for a lot of the people that go to our church. They just felt like, oh my gosh, like they see me, like they actually see me now. And so, yes, I've seen the conversation evolve, but also like I feel like it was evolving really rapidly for a while. And then I don't know, like, I travel full time. I probably speak in 70% secular and corporate spaces now, and only 30% faith-based spaces. But even in the faith-based spaces, like, I feel like it's getting a little lazy. I feel like it's getting a little stagnant. And I don't want churches to feel like just because they, you know, have done a panel, or just because they've done, you know, something, that there's not more to do, and that there's not more to, you know, to be done. And so, yeah, you know, I just think that especially after 2020, and into 2021, that the faith space is and needs to be a very safe space, for people that are struggling to be able to come and say, can you direct me? Can you help me? Can you point me in the right direction? So yeah, I think overall I've seen a lot of growth, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
But we're not done growing. You got to keep going.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wanted to ask you, because, you know, I just mentioned I have a 7-year-old, so he's not quite a teenager, but sometimes I think he is.
I know.
You remember that age?
Oh, yeah.
As you have kids or young adults now, in your family, like, how have you thought about talking about your experience with mental health, or how have you thought about, like, sharing? Because we do, you know, we work in high schools, we work at college level, we work with, you know, we've been around now for 15 years. So people who knew us in high school are now, you know, have kids of their own.
Oh, yeah.
So I just kind of think about that question, one, personally, and I'm asking for your wisdom.
Right.
But just kind of like, how have you seen, like, a conversation like this, or a conversation just around mental health in general?
Yeah.
How have you kind of navigated that with your family?
Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't, you know, I definitely don't consider myself a parenting expert. My kids can still end up on, you know, some cops reality show somewhere. And so, but one thing that we did is, from the time they were 7 years old, each of them, we began to put them in counseling. So my kids, when they turned 7, there's a counseling center in Nashville, Tennessee called Daystar, and Sissy Goff and Dave Thomas kind of run the boys and the girls programs there. And counseling, it's so great, because it's not like, you know, it's not what you would imagine counseling for kids. It's small group counseling. So they've got their small group that they.
You want to say hi, August?
Please, August.
I
We're
guess
just
August
talking
would like
about
to say
7-year-olds. Hey, August.
You want to say hi to my friend Carlos? I know you haven't met him yet, but you wanted to come in anyway. So it's the year of interruptions.
Yes, no, I love it. So good.
He was talking about some opportunities that his kids have to sit with some friends and talk.
Some friends and talk.
Yep. You want to sit with me? Maybe not. Fine.
Yes, August. And so listen, August. Listen. This is what they do, August. When my kids were, how old are you? 7. Yeah. So when my kids were 7, they started to go visit a friend with a bunch of other friends, and they were just talking about their feelings, and it just became normal for them. And they now have been going every single week or every other week for like a decade. So you want to talk about having some emotionally healthy young kids. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's bedtime. See ya. All right, buddy. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How did you guys decide to do that? I'm just curious. Like, that's not something I actually expected, but I love that you do that. So I'm like, okay, I'm listening.
Yeah. No. They I was actually going through a pretty thick bout myself, and it was actually affecting my family. It was affecting my my kids. It was affecting my work, and so we came to a place where we were like, God, they probably need to talk to somebody about what you're going through, you know. And so when they went and they met one-on-one with their counselors, actually it was Sohaila, she was 7, so she went and met with their counselor, and then they were like, you know, we do the small group thing. And they don't feel like they're in counseling. Like, it's like small group. They play, they talk about their week, but they're talking with like clinical licensed therapists, right? And then they go to, again, like we're all in with therapy, right? And then they go to this camp called Hope Town, which is put on by Daystar. So they go 7 days. It's like, you know, the blob, skiing, all the things you get at camp, but their camp counselors are all clinical therapists. And so I'm telling you, my kids, when they would come back, everyone's always like, your kids are so like emotionally mature. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with us. We've just been putting them in counseling their entire life. So, you know, I'm just a fan of, I know not every community has a center like Daystar, but, you know, I think that everybody does have opportunities to get their kids to be able to talk to another adult about things that they're feeling. I just think that as a parent, if you don't have a place you can put them in counseling, find another adult that you trust, that they can learn to trust. And I just think that it takes other adults around us to pour into our kids as well. So
yeah, I think that's a really awesome point. I remember somebody, a friend of mine who was just recently diagnosed with bipolar disorder and had a very close relationship with their niece, and was really worried about sharing that, right? Like, how do I explain how do I explain how I'm doing? And someone told me a while ago, it's like explaining that the brain is a part of the body and it's an organ that can get sick, was actually like all they needed to hear. The kids are like, okay, makes sense to me. Like, you're
totally.
like, and you're like adults don't know this. Like,
I know.
Our kids are so they can just hold truth, right?
Yeah.
They can hold these truths that we somehow have kind of twisted up and forgotten that they're like the reality of the world. So I have to tell myself that, and I've often told friends and family, right? Like, your brain is a part of your body, and your emotions, you know, they're actually generated even sometimes in your gut and your brain. Like, the body is like a wonderful thing, but it's a whole system. So we can't leave out this thing called mental health. Like, mental health is health, and we get sick at times, and we need support, we need care. And like you said, it's not about weakness. It's just about having access to care. So I wanted to thank the folks donating. You are helping. Let's see, we are at 5 people that we have helped sit with a counselor for the first time. For those 5 people, we get to say 5 yeses. So thank you so much for doing that.
That's awesome.
It's a tremendous gift that you are giving. If you are able to, we really support that. We have a goal. We have a pretty big goal. We have a goal to raise $250,000 by technically the end of September, but we were hoping to kind of aim towards tomorrow. I'm trying to think, we are about $60,000 away, but we are plugging away. We've got people streaming live. We've got people on Facebook. We've got Instagram lives. If you're watching and you want to help with this goal, it's real easy with tomorrow, or you can do it today, but tomorrow, just, you know, sharing about World Suicide Prevention Day, talking about this issue. It's kind of it's like a win-win for everybody, right? Like, to make stigma small and to get loud, right? And to be louder than the stigma that keeps people quiet. That's the win. That's the first win. The second win is if you can add a donate button, right? Like, we'll literally get to help people sit with a counselor for the first time. That's, you know, we just hear from people I would not be here if I did not have access to care right now. And so now more than ever, that's a really important gift to be able to give people. So if you're in a position, we so appreciate it. I know people on the receiving end appreciate that. Carlos, where are you going next? I know you said you're traveling. You've got a couple months.
I speak tomorrow here in Nashville to a couple thousand moms at a thing called MomCon. And
what? MomCon? I need to know about this.
Oh,
what does this mean?
It's MomCon. So it's like a bunch of moms, like thousands of moms of like preschoolers to elementary schoolers, you know? And so speaking there tomorrow, and then I fly to Denver, Colorado. I'm speaking in Denver on Sunday, speaking in Kalispell, Montana on Tuesday.
Wow.
Then I'm back in Nashville for a week. And then it's about, if you go on my Instagram, I actually have like all the dates and the places that I'll be speaking
at. And you were just in Orlando, and we're not too far from you, but
I was just there yesterday morning. Yesterday was the longest day of my life. It was yesterday morning, and I spoke twice in Orlando yesterday. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, we appreciate you being here with us. I have one personal question. If you have questions, you could still submit them, but I wanted to ask this particular part. Let me double check there's nothing else in here. Can you see me well? I just don't know.
Yeah.
You can see me. Okay, great.
Yep, great.
How, in moments like in Tony, or like in other moments, what sparks in you to be like, oh, this something needs to grow here. Yeah, this is a thing. Like, I just need to go for it. Like, what?
Yeah,
I just in you.
Yeah, I just know. You know, I never. You know, I've got a lot of people of various faith backgrounds that follow me. I got, you know, and I'm always honest with people and say I call it the Holy Spirit. I call it I just know. God just tells me, and I just know. You know, all these people. Because I get now, because, you know, we've raised close to over $600,000 in the last few months for individuals, you know, and Insta Familia has. And so you know, I get dozens a day of people going, hey, here's this person needs this person.
Yeah.
And every single time it's just been like a check, like, you
Sure.
know, you just know, I
Yeah.
just know. And so, and that's just the thing is, and I'm always looking for, oh, this is something else. I'm always looking for people that aren't seen. Like it just, to find somebody that is trudging through life and maybe feels a little bit invisible and isn't complaining, but is just doing what they do. I love to see people. And gosh, there's like nothing greater for me. I just get excited thinking about that. Like, who can I see tomorrow? Like, I want to find somebody. I want to see them. I want to let them know that they're valued and that they're seen. And so, yeah, you know, I definitely don't have a spreadsheet and a checklist of like, you know, the next thing we're going to do. It just happens. It's pretty authentic when it does. So
that's, I mean, I think that's a good word to describe it, because like people
yeah.
respond, like your Insta Familia, that they respond to the authentic moment. And that's like, it's so powerful. Like, honestly, I've cried many times watching your Instagram stories, more than I would like to admit, which is a good thing, right?
Yes.
That's a good thing. Tears are healthy. They're there for a reason.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. It's just amazing. And it does leave you with this sense that, like, man, there's some good in this world, right? Like there is some, like, in such a dark, and heavy time, there is some good. And there are people like yourself and like every person who's watching who shows up in those moments. Like, that's what it's all about, right? Like, you get to shine the spotlight on it, but it's like really the people, the Insta Familia, who's like really stepping up, right? Like,
I'm not I tell people all the time, like, I'm not the superhero. It's the people that are donating $1.50, $3, $2. It's
so powerful.
They're the superheroes. I'm just like, I just shine the backlight and I point at a certain thing and they just go whack and they're in.
Are you going to develop like a specific I've seen songs. I've seen Insta Familia songs, like theme songs.
I am trying to find somebody to create. I don't know if it's a GIF or something with where it looks like the backlight, and all I do when it's time and to let my people know is I'm just going to put up a slide in my story of just the Insta Familia spotlight shining, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's time to go! Everybody get your things."
Okay, somebody watching has to make this happen.
Yes,
I think it's
absolutely.
Oh man,
absolutely.
Well, that's great. That's awesome. Well, I personally, like I said, I get inspired, so I'm just grateful.
Yeah.
I think we've got someone trying to enter the room again. Sorry.
I love it.
It's just real life.
It's real life.
Yeah. Well, I want to just thank you for chatting with us, for being a part of our Another Day with You campaign. If you are new to write Love on Her Arms, we encourage you to check out what's going on tomorrow with World Suicide Prevention Day, National Suicide Prevention Week. Still a couple more days left, and September is Suicide Prevention Month. So we're going to be having conversations all month. This is an amazing conversation with you. If you want to catch more, people can tune in. We've got a podcast, we've got blogs dropping. These will be available if you missed this one. Well, I guess if you're here, you didn't miss it. But if you want to share it with someone who missed it, that is a great action step. I want to thank the people who donated. We are helping people sit with a counselor for the first time. Carlos, is there anything that we missed that, like, I mean, I just wanted to show up, have some conversation.
No, this was so good for me. Yeah, I just wanted some of the Insta fam to get to meet you guys and to see what you guys are about, and you know, follow you guys and support everything that you guys are doing. So I honestly, like, I'm all in, and I don't even have to get one more T-shirt from you guys the rest of my life, and I'll wear these out. And I'll still support you guys. I love everything you guys do. So I'm just so proud of you guys.
Well, we are inspired by you. So the feeling must be mutual. So thank you so much. And
you are welcome.
We're honored. So thank you, Carlos.
Awesome. Thanks, friend. Okay. Yep. Talk soon.